time, actually, getting chat to him. James McMurdock, Reform UK MP for South Basildon. Very good morning to you, James.
Hi, Julia. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Lots to talk to you about. First of all, we've just been talking about the migration numbers and Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, refusing to set a timetable for cutting those small boat crossings. And I've been saying for a long time, you know, if the Tories won't do it, Labour won't do it, people will turn to a party that will do it. Is that the key issue that you think Reform can benefit from voters on?
It's certainly one of the biggest issues, undoubtedly, and I think Reform are sort of head and shoulders ahead of the rest when it comes to sort of trust on the issue. But it isn't the only issue. You know, we do recognise that people have a cost of living crisis as well. Net zero is making people poorer. But in terms of the immigration, I think people really have had enough. And we've reached a stage where it slightly beggars belief in terms of how we've got here, because the message has been loud and clear from the people that things are moving in a direction which the population generally are becoming quite uncomfortable with, and that you know, it seems that our government to a certain extent has lost control, which I think should be a sort of warning sign or a reason for concern for anyone. So yeah, Reform absolutely need to sort of step in and make sure people know that their voice is being listened to in Parliament.
And how crucial will be big donors like the billionaire property developer Nick Candy, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk? Nick Candy has already said he wants to give at least £1 million to you as a party. Elon Musk has talked about $100 million, asking, you know, when's the next big electoral battle? Of course, the local elections next May. Nigel Farage replied to him on social media. How important is having that money to sort of back up the campaigns, to pay for the billboards, pay for stuff? How crucial do you think that's going to be? And especially this to an MP who, you know, you only won by a very sort of tiny majority and were, frankly, a bit of a surprise for your party leader, Nigel Farage, on the day after the election.
Yeah. That certainly was. I mean, that's the thing. These mega donors do play an important role, and they certainly help level the playing field for a new sort of start-up party like ours that's looking to really step in and help the British electorate. But they're only a small part of the picture. It has to be a grassroots movement as well, which it is, which is exactly what we saw in the last election, with virtually no budget, no funding, no time to organise, no ground game. We still got the 4.1 million votes, you know, and I'm living proof of that. My largest donor was a lady called Barbara, who I'll forever be indebted to, who gave me £50, and she's still my largest donor. So Nick Candy and Elon Musk, I'm sure, could change that quite easily if they so wanted to. But that's not the point. They are just helping us to level the playing field so we can professionalise and help get our country right back on track, because that's what we need, that's what we want.
Let me ask you about two of the big stories in the news today. One is this, I'd say it keeps being referred to as a model. She's just a woman who sells her body on the internet, on OnlyFans. This is Victoria Thomas-Bowen. She's the one who threw the banana milkshake at Nigel Farage in Clacton-on-Sea while he was campaigning the general election. Extraordinarily, she has avoided jail. She's refused to apologise. In her police interview, said she didn't regret doing it. She eventually pleaded guilty to assault by beating and also to criminal damage to a security officer's jacket. She's been given a 3-month sentence, suspended for a year in order to carry out 120 hours of unpaid work. It is extraordinary that somebody who threw a substance he didn't know at the time, it was milkshake, could have been anything else, into the face of someone campaigning in a democratic election, that she has avoided jail, not expressing any regret whatsoever for the crime she committed. And yet people who've written tweets online, tweets that they often deleted within minutes or within hours, have faced proper, real jail time. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, clearly her attitude absolutely stinks. I don't know if she's getting some benefit out of it, which, you know, is a bit of a damning testament to the state of the world today.
You mean more men are going to look at this this cheap woman's you know, OnlyFans page because we're saying a name? I mean, well done her, eh? Her parents must be so proud.
Well, exactly, and I'm glad you said that. Yeah, it's infamy at a cheap price. It's not something that I would want for my daughters, but who knows what's going through her head? It's clearly not the way I would like her to be thinking.
Should she have gone to jail?
I couldn't say on that. I mean, it was right that Nigel pressed charges, because there could be anything, and a clear message has to be sent, because you cannot have terrible behaviour like this escalating. It absolutely needs to be nipped in the bud, and I really hope that the judge's sentence does that. Her attitude does stink, but perhaps that's a bit of a persona, and hopefully behind closed doors she's a bit more sober about it. But yeah, there's, in fact, I won't talk about it now because I haven't made it public, but there's another piece of work I'm working on that I hope will reflect British public's view on sentencing compared to how horrific the crime might be felt by the general public versus the punishment. You've absolutely right example with, I'm not going to play it down. Some words are disgusting.
Yep.
Absolutely disgusting, deserve condemnation, but I don't necessarily think deserve severe prison sentences. So, physical assault versus mean words, I certainly know which I think is worse.
Absolutely. I think most sensible people do as well. What about also a rather more serious crime, and the crime of international espionage? A Chinese spy has been expelled from the country, banned from ever returning, after it was emerged that he had a 10-year close business relationship. He was a close confidant, one of Prince Andrew's aides said, with the Duke of York. The big concern about this Chinese spy, known only as H6, able to reach into the top echelons of British establishment, met prime ministers, went to Buckingham Palace and the like as part of this spy network. He is not allowed to be named in this country, even though his name's all over the internet, all over American media, and extraordinarily Chinese media. He's only known as H6 here. We understand that your party members, your colleagues, are planning to name this alleged Chinese spy in the House of Commons today using parliamentary privilege. Do you know if that's going to happen, and who's going to do it?
I believe both Richard and Nigel have confirmed that they would do it, but let me please be very clear. I haven't had a direct conversation with them about this about this topic, so if I'm mistaken there, let me just be open about it. Yeah, I believe they are. We have to be very, very careful with our relationships with the world. We want to be in friendly competition with these huge players, but we also want a level playing field wherever we can, which means underhanded tactics like that need to be put to bed very quickly. And I suspect if the rationale behind naming this person is so we can kind of blow the doors off the topic and prevent any further damage. Yeah,
that would certainly be the case. Extraordinary, especially if the rest of the world's allowed to know who he is. James McMurdock, Reform UK MP for South Basildon, thank you very much indeed for that. Just briefly from you, Sam Armstrong, I mean, this is a freedom of speech issue, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And look, it's incredibly serious, and you could literally go to prison in this country for naming who this person is. And it's,
I mean, even though it's all over the internet everywhere else.
Yeah, but it strikes me that it's hugely in the public interest, that the public have a right to know who this individual is,